What's going on, y'all? This is your favorite music journalist, Poppy Cleve, and we are back with a show that doesn't even have a title yet. But anyway, let's talk about SZA's Control, but 5 years later. To discuss and celebrate her 5th anniversary of an album that has stand the test of time, I decided to bring in a true visionary. She's a content marketer at Blavity News and also an editor at Nielsen Media, Miss Dericka. My other special guest, she's a friend of the show, a familiar face that you just can't resist. She's a abolitionist, photographer, content curator, a co-host of Tampa Bay Activist Network, a true Renaissance woman, Miss Tori Brown. Now let's get to the video. Released on June 9, 2017, SZA makes her landmark with her debut album Control under TDE, an independent label housing some of the most elite tier MCs consisting of J-Rock, Schoolboy Q, Absol, Isaiah Rashad, and the former Kendrick Lamar. Not only was SZA the first lady of TDE, but she was also the first R&B vocalist out of this supergroup of a label. Originally titled as A, Control was meant to be part of a trilogy of her self-titled releases with S and Z. Her EP Z, released in 2014, served more so as her introduction to the music world, showcasing her abstract songwriting and genre-bending sound that was reminiscent of Frank Ocean. At the time, she was unlike any other, and to be honest, she still is, possessing cozier records like Child's Play and even soulful bearing records like Warm Winds. It showed that SZA possessed a lot of talent within her artistry, a lot of potential within her artistry. The EP itself will soon catapult her to higher heights, getting her inside rooms with even Rihanna, as she's featured on her album Anti with Consideration, as she's co-writing and also featured on it, and this is back in 2016. But in the year 2017, music was in a bit of a strange place. Hip-hop was still at the forefront and forever growing, while R&B was slowly but surely creeping its way out of the shadows. Within that year, before the release of Control, we get a bunch of big heavyweight artists dropping commercial albums such as Kendrick Lamar's Damn, Drake's Playlist, More Life, Migos Culture, and even Future dropping 2 back-to-back albums with Hendrix and his self-titled release, Future, which also features like the infamous flute record, Mask Off. But within this year, these records were summer records, these were radio records. And somehow, someway, SZA made it through that frenzy, and dare I say it, inside of our hearts.
And that's all we listened to was that album. There really wasn't. And this was also when everyone would talk about Summer 17, Summer 17, Summer 17. I think that was around that time. So, like, to only be listening to R&B was kind of weird because, you know, you're supposed to be turned. But it still worked. I don't know.
Okay, so let me just say that I love this girl, okay? Like, I am a SZA fan. So for me, I felt very proud as a fan seeing her get to this moment. Like, I used to listen to See SZA Run, like, all that. When you said 2 a.m., I'm like, yeah, like, people don't even know about that shit. So, one, I was just proud of her in that moment. But for me, when I went to the concert, she did like an intimate little thing here in Tampa at the Orpheum, and I did like meet and greet, signature, all that shit. Y'all, I was in there boohoo crying. But the part that like got me, she performed 20 something at the end. Everybody's in their tears, boohoo crying, because it's like we all feel it. Like, you're in your 20 somethings, you ain't got shit to your name, like you just going through the day, going through the motions, trying to really figure it out. And at that part, it was just like, you see us.
In an interview with Pitchfork, SZA speaks on the meaning behind Control, saying, "It's elusive. It's another representation of the egoic mind, the want for control, because you can't accept lack of control. Control is not real, and I'm really understanding that every day. It's about the acceptance of relinquishing control that makes it powerful for you." And I believe she honestly just explained one of the meanings of life. Control is a beautiful and frustrating coming-of-age album that deals with the awkwardness of sex and love, the hindrances of insecurities, also striving for sexual freedom, being an outcast, while also dealing with growing up and stepping into adulthood. SZA pens together an album that's honest, blunt, and just raw. She crafts together an album that challenges the realms of R&B while also pushing the genre forward.
I feel like it was a good introduction to her as an artist, and I feel like it really cemented her place in R&B in particular. Like you already mentioned, genre defying but also genre bending at the same time. And I think she also, I was listening to the album again, and I feel like why it worked at that time was because nothing about the album is like contrived. She's not trying to hold back anything. Everything is very like raw and honest. And I think a lot of us need that in the music that we consume. We don't really get that a lot in the music that we consume. So it was easy for a lot of us to connect with that because she's talking about stuff that we're already going through and she's not sugarcoating it, you know? So
the album opens up with Supermodels. We are first met with a lonely guitar riff that sets the space for SZA to step in. As the album opens up, so does SZA's diary, if she has one, that is. We are immediately pulled into a world where we get to visualize her insecurities, her thoughts, and even her memories. But before we even get to meet with SZA, we actually get to meet her mother instead, as the pages begin to turn.
There's always fear that if I lost control or didn't have control, things would just, I would be
And with this intimate recording, this actually sets up the main theme of the album, control. Within Supermodels, SZA begins to write her letter to her ex-boyfriend who happens to leave her on Valentine's Day. To get revenge, she sleeps with one of his friends. While she is distraught about infidelity, she also questioning her own self-worth and wanting validation.
Like, I feel like as soon as you listen to this song, it's like she's asking somebody, like, what are all these things that I can do to be perfect in your eyes? But like, what about your own eyes? So I feel like the album immediately starts already like not having control of yourself or your own emotions or the things you do within your own life. You're already giving your control to other people. So I feel like that all the time, especially me now, like kind of starting in this phase where I am in my like career, I feel like I always hit stages of like self-doubt. Like, oh, I don't even know if I'm like good enough for this. What else can I do so I can be like the top candidate? Or what else can I do? Like, like in the things that I've already done should be like, yo, I'm showing you, but you still question yourself. So definitely. What do I do to, I guess, push past that? Try not to be so hard on myself and just realize the things that I've already done. That's like, girl, you're that girl, like already, so.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments. Definitely have had moments of self-doubt. And I also think, particularly for Black women, it was like refreshing to have conversations around why we don't have to be perfect, because so many of us, particularly, like, know what it's like to be in situations where you don't have to like just perform. You have to overperform and overcompensate for like other people's biases. So I think she did a really good job of kind of centering that in relationships in particular. Like what she say, why am I so easy to forget? Like when she said that, why am I so easy to forget like that? Yeah. Because that makes you question yourself. How do you forget me? You know what I'm saying? So I just think that was like, that hit me personally. And I just think in general, when all of us question our self-worth, it's like, how else can I channel this energy? I haven't found the answer yet. I don't have an answer. And I don't really know what to do. And I'm kind of okay with that also, because I don't think it's my job to figure out how I need to fix myself or like make myself love every part of me just so that way other people are comfortable. Like, I think it's okay also to not like certain parts of yourself and like want to be better in certain aspects. But yeah.
And although she's screaming, I need you, in the interview with the Vulture, she says, I know on Supermodel, when I say I need you, each time I said that, I was saying something different. I was talking to someone different. I feel like there are mad people in my life that wonder if I need them, so I was kind of reassuring them that I do. But the insecurities don't just stop here, as it continues to spiral down into Drew Barrymore. Throughout the track, SZA's self-esteem is damaged. She constantly questions if she's even worth it, if she's warm enough inside and out, meaning what she's really speaking of was not just between her legs, but also on the outside as well, speaking of loving her for who she is, loving her for SZA. That's what she's mainly speaking of. But also throughout the song, she also contends with the expectations of men. Drew Barrymore is also an ode to the actual 90s actor, obviously, Drew Barrymore, who also played many roles that were similar to SZA, playing the awkward, angsty teen that also went beyond the societal norms of what women should be. That's what Drew Barrymore was known for pretty much throughout the 90s.
For me, like, she says a lot of things about being like not the standard. She says she wishes she was a normal girl. She want to shave her legs for somebody. She says it was there, then it just left my mind. Oh, like she loved dirty Converse and she was 10. Like, always like making reference to her just not being like, you know, generally what it means to be pretty. Like, since I was younger, I've always felt like, I don't know, like a tomboy in a way, or just like not exactly, maybe not wanting to shave my legs, or having to not even like, never even gotten, maybe this is TMI, maybe not even say that too. Gotta keep going. But you know, like shit, like getting a wax, you know, things like that, like things that I'm just like, haven't even done it. So I feel her, like, trying not to meet all these specific standards, just being you and still being like bomb and beautiful, because SZA is still like fine. Shaved legs or not, like, I lick it. I lick her leg. I don't even know if I answered the fucking question.
You did.
Dericka, you're a hoot and a half. Yeah. I don't think I would have ever been categorized as normal ever in my life. And so definitely feel that. But I'm also like, SZA, are you playing this up a little bit? Like, how weird are you for real? Is she really that weird? I don't even think she's that weird for real. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I don't know though. Like,
she's not like Doja Cat weird.
She did used to be very weird. Her old music is it's real alt R&B.
No, for sure. But my thing is, you yourself, you make yourself. Like she never mind. I'm not even gonna get into that. Because she be doing weird stuff. Like going out of her way to do it. Yeah, just a little.
Okay.
Just a little. And maybe that's part of her being weird. just different.
Because in a way that's very weird, right?
Yeah, that's some weirdo stuff. But that's okay. That's okay. Like, why are you talking about I've never owned a TV? I've never owned a TV. Okay. Like,
I'm gonna go right.
But in general, yeah, I've always felt like I was weird or off or different. And I think part of growing up is also realizing that everyone feels like they're weird or different. And you just learn to move the way that you know how to move. And find the people who allow you to be yourself. And also ask you to also hold yourself to, like, I don't know. Everything I think about, like, your 20s or, like, this album, I think about growth, strangely enough. That's what I always think about. So, like, even when it comes to, like, how you feel about yourself or your thoughts about yourself or if you're weird or not, whatever, I feel like even within all of that, there's some type of lesson about growth or finding yourself or something like that. So I definitely feel like that was thematically something that unintentionally came from the album, at least for me. But, like, when I think of normal, I think of someone who is, like, incredibly average. Like, I'm talking V-necks, V-necks, jeans, sneakers. I'm talking, I don't know. They're just like I don't know. I don't think any of us technically fit into that because you're always weird to somebody. But I think normal comes down to whiteness. There we go. That's my answer.
I agree with her on that one.
On Doves in the Wind, a song dedicated to vaginas, SZA talks about how real niggas don't deserve pussy. And I believe I can speak for all of us, because when I originally heard this song, I was like, what the f is she talking about? But then she goes on to say, meaning it's more you see right through the walls ain't talking about pussy, meaning you deserve the whole box of chocolates.
First time I listened to it,
Yeah.
I didn't know what she was talking about.
Okay.
At first I thought it was like, what she mean they don't deserve that? Like, that's exactly what I was.
And throughout this dreamy landscape of a record, SZA talks about how she wants someone that sees beyond her walls, someone that wants something that's deeper, someone who sees SZA for SZA. She also taps in Kendrick for a dope comedic verse as he talks about how men will go to great lengths just to get pussy, and the more I listen to the song, it just screams that ultimately pussy is just powerful.
She made points because I think ultimately it was also talking about like how frivolous men are with sex in general as like something simply for pleasure for them and not even necessarily a connection, but like at least pleasuring the other person. So if you're not a worthy candidate in general, you're not worthy of pussy in general. Yeah. So I mean, I don't disagree with the sentiment. I don't.
Also, I want to mention how this song also has a bit of a reference to Kendrick Lamar's song These Walls that was back in 2015 on his album To Pimp a Butterfly. In that song as well, he talks about being inside a vagina, talks about being inside her walls as well. This song also has a bit of a reference to Frank Ocean's song. Since we mentioned him earlier, I gotta bring him back up again. How he also did a Forrest Gump reference just like SZA did in this song on Channel Orange. But hold up, there's also another connection between this song and probably the most bounciest record on the album, Love Galore with Travis Scott. Now while on Doves in the Wind is talking about searching for someone who sees SZA for SZA, on Love Galore she's also irritated and frustrated as well. She's pretty much just tired of men who only see her for sex, who only want her for sex. And when you think about it, just having those two songs come back to back after another, it's just genius level of sequencing. But although much of this album deals with the aggravation of boyfriends and dealing with men in general, this album also talks about striving for sexual freedom. Which brings us to The Weeknd, a song about sharing a man between other women. This song is basked in neo-soul, and it was soon as the song came out, the streets went crazy. And not only was it on constant rotation between women, but also in men in particular as well. And I definitely knew it was in my rotation. And actually, this is the only song on the album that sticks to the traditions of R&B while bringing its own modern flair to it.
Just brings me back to a time.
Mm-hmm.
Brings me back to Whiskey North. It brings me back to Want to Be 11:59. It just brings you back to times where you're singing this very passionately because you feel it. But also for SZA herself, I like the song for her because I think before it always showed that she made, the all R&B, but this song was for like all the girlies. Like she showed y'all like I can make a real R&B song. And the girls back home that usually don't like the little weird R&B songs, like they was singing this. All the girlies ate this up. So I think this definitely put a stamp in her and show everybody like, okay, I'm not just this one type of R&B artist. Like I can do a nice hit. I can do a radio play, like, and y'all gonna sing it for real. And all your friends gonna know it,
We then get to the final track of the album that pretty much summarizes and encapsulates bringing everything all together, which is 20 somethings. Just like Supermodels, we are again met with just a guitar riff and just SZA alone. Over these mellow guitar strings, SZA bears her soul. On this record, she starts talking about how she doesn't have anything under her name, how she doesn't own anything, the possibility of losing her closest friends, and pretty much just not having her life together. And I believe that's a big fear for all of us, as the fear of not getting our life together sooner or later. And this is why it's one of my favorite songs on this album, because I relate to it, and I think we all relate to it. We're all trying to figure this thing called life, and it's hard. It's a lot. We're all trying to get our careers. We're all trying to get our financial situations together, our love life. Yeah, it's honestly a lot, and I just think it's crazy how as soon as we are, like, at least with my generation, as soon as we are adulting, of course the society, the world itself is just crippling down. The economy is slowly crumbling, and it's just happened to happen when we're approaching our adulthood. Some of us are reaching 30s, some of us are in our mid-20s, and some of us are just stepping out of college and about to experience this thing called life for real. And I'm sorry, y'all, I just get a little bit passionate about this because yeah. And although this song is about the fears and worries of young adulthood, SZA still has a sense of hope within all this. And really, I do too as well. I believe she gives us a sense of comfort that things are going to be all right. Things are going to be okay. It's not going to be easy, but just don't give up. We're all going through the same thing. We're all experiencing it. And just like SZA on this track, I do believe in all of us. I do believe we'll get things together. I believe things will be all right. God bless our 20-somethings. Absolutely.
I think for me, the main one that I can go back to like every year, no matter what, it's like this time next year, I'll be living so good. I'll be living in no pain, I swear. Like, I'm just like, that's a mantra every year for me. It's like, you know what? But this time next year, it's not going to be like this. Like, everything I written out, everything I manifested, like, I can always say each year I look back on something that I've written. I was like, all right, at least next time this year, like, this situation won't be a problem for me anymore. So she did something there, because she created something that you can always go back to, always remember, always repeat to yourself, like them affirmations. Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about like, yes, the album is like sad, but I also think there's like bits and pieces of hope that she sprinkles out throughout the entire album. Like, I don't think that the resolve is necessarily one that is the resolve, meaning the final song, like necessarily one of hope. But I think that there is something to be said about like being in the time and place that you're in, and still like sitting in it and being upset about it and hating it, and still being hopeful that there's like something to come that's better than what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you said about this being an album that you can return to. Kind of just feels like you're remembering, like, you really do get to remember like where you were, like some of the lowest moments of your life, and then also be like, but things can get better.
Yeah. Literally, like, ending it, when I ended it today, I'll be so emotional, but I literally wasn't like, I started crying, and I was like, I just ended it like, thank God for, whatever, the hard shit, like the good times, like literally the 20s, like, thank God for all of this. Thank God for all these experiences. And like, I just pray that these don't, like, I can live on to the 30s, to the 40s, to the 50s, to, continuously. I just live on past these times. They don't die out. Like, and I'm gonna just appreciate them all. So this album, she wrapped it up so good. Through all the pain, through all the hurt, it's still like, but thank you, God, for these 20-somethings. God bless them. Like, just bless them.
Also, I think it's really dope that this album begins with her mom and also ends with her mom. And as I was thinking about this earlier, I had a bit of a revelation that this album begins with trying to gain control. And then we come to the end of the album learning that it's not really possible. We can get some control, but we can't control everything. And we kind of just have to live in the present. And that's the ending message of what her mom gives and what SZA gives as well with 20-somethings. And with the beginning, it's a bit of frustration that SZA experiences, and as we trickle down to the end of the album, we learn that it's not possible for us to get control, and there's also a bit of consolation that's there, letting us know that it's okay to not always have control. It's okay to not have everything all together right away. And with her mother's last message, I think that's so comforting and such a good way to end an album that is peak level genius, to be honest. And maybe that's a bit of a reach. I just came to that resolution because I love the fact that I think that's a dope thing to see. Maybe not everyone caught that, and maybe it may be a reach, but I don't think so. But man, what a great coming of age album. I love this album. I think it does so much for the youth, for all of us, to be honest. And before we even get to that point, I want to mention that out of all the features on this album, from Kendrick, Isaiah Rashad, Travis Scott, I believe the best features on this album is the mom and the grandma. They presented so much great information that was so pivotal in this album. They played such a pivotal role. I digress.
Look, I love it. I love Kendrick. I love Isaiah. I love him. But it was the black woman for me. I'm sorry.
I would also give it to the mama and to Mima, because I feel like those words impacted the generation. I guess you could say like that. No, if I could make that my ringtone, I probably could. If I could make that my ringtone, I would, because I ain't got shit to say to you. You ain't got shit to say to me.
I ain't gotta talk about you treating me. We ain't gotta talk about me or treat me mean.
I just stay out your way. That's how I make that go.
That's how we do that one. Like, yeah.
Yes.
No, it really fucks me.
Step on it.
And step on it.
I agree. There's nothing like, it felt like a nice hug.
It is.
A nice hug. You know, I'm away at college. That's straight. Like, it felt like my grandma was holding me for a moment and was like, "This is what you need to say." Mm-hmm. When somebody trying you, this is what we always need to return to. I have nothing, and that's what your trainings are about. I have nothing to like. There's nothing to say. We ain't got to talk no more. Easy.
Now, as we reach the end of the video, let's talk about the legacy of the album. I think this is the album that will be passed down generation after generation. I think this album provides a voice for many people, for many young people, young black women who are, and not just black women, but just women as a whole, women who are not going by societal norms, who are outcasts, who wear Converse, who listen to Paramore, read mangas, watches anime, play video games, who don't shave their legs all the time. I think it provides a voice for, and not just for women, but for everyone. I think it does a lot. This album does a lot. Like I said, this is it's just a great coming of age album. And I think this album really pushes the genre of R&B forward, letting artists to be able to experiment, go out their comfort zones, and just challenge the realms of it. In this album, SZA does a lot. She does indie, she does a bit of pop, she does a bit of R&B, but it's a mixture of genres in one album, but I think she does a lot by bringing new production, new sounds that was, to me, it was experimental. It was unorthodox. It was just sounds that we didn't hear in R&B at the time. We don't get that till later on with maybe Brent Fayez and maybe Kalani, maybe, or especially Frank Ocean. But I think this album did wonders. I think it just broadened the horizon of music. And maybe that could be a reach. Again, that could be a reach. But let's be honest, she's one of the few artists that's been doing it. But anyway, I thank you guys for watching this video, man. It's been quite a journey of making this video. If you reached all the way to the end of this video, I really thank you so much for listening in, watching, listening to my voice for a good 20 minutes. Crazy. But I thank you guys so much, man. I just really like this album. You guys know how I do. I only talk about albums that I really enjoy, that I feel like need to be discussed. I really just enjoy doing this kind of thing. I really appreciate you guys. And also, please give a follow, give a like, visit their pages, Miss Dericka, also Miss Tori Brown. That would be amazing. Those two were amazing, and I am honored for them to be in my video. Love to you guys. But thank you again. You can follow me at Poppy Cleve, PAPICLEVE. This is your favorite music journalist, and I'm gonna catch you guys next time. Next album review is really gonna be between Mr.morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar, and Vince Staples. Dang, what's the name of the album? That last Vince Staples album, which is like incredible. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.